Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Pods Moving and Storage Studios. This is The Ramsey Show. It's where America hangs out to have a conversation about your life, specifically your money, your relationships, your mental health, your work. I'm Ken Coleman, joined by my colleague, Dr. John Deloney. The phone number to jump in is 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. 5225. Let's go to Craig in Indianapolis, Indiana. Craig, how can we help?
Hey, Ken, John. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
Just a little background. 2005, we got hooked up with the Ramsey baby steps and went through the process, and we're now in baby step 7 and baby steps millionaires.
Way to go!
And,
nice.
But here's a couple months back, I got terminated from a job of 26 years on a policy violation, and going forward, I want to know how to broach that subject in an interview, because I know the question can be asked: how did you leave your last job?
What was the what are you comfortable sharing on this policy violation? I think it will help my advice.
I think it was misapplied, but it was a racial discrimination. And it was definitely misapplied, but I had no recourse. Indiana's a right to work state, so you can get fired for any reason. When I go to the next interview, when they ask that question, I want to be upfront, but how do I do that without laying myself out?
I will tell you that there are very few questions that truly stump me, and for the moment I'm stumped in that this is such a red flag for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Certainly you understand.
Obviously.
You do need to be upfront, but it sounds to me like, okay, so let me go back. Before I tell you what I think you should say, you're telling me that it's your word versus their word. They're saying you violated something, and you're saying I did not do it. Are you basically saying this was a misunderstanding?
Yeah. No, it wasn't a misunderstanding. The company got hit with a fairly significant case a couple years back, and they are just hypersensitive to this stuff. And it literally took almost nothing to trigger this. Right,
but and I don't want you to share what you said, because I don't want to be insensitive to anybody. But was this something you said or something you did?
It was something that was posted.
You posted something on your social media?
Yeah, it was a group chat, and I posted something, and it was taken the wrong way. I didn't even imply it to be the way it was. One person took it, and that's how it...
Okay, let me ask you this. If you're in a job interview in the near future, and would you feel comfortable showing what you posted to anybody from any walk of life?
Absolutely.
You would push it across the table.
Previous coworkers say what happened, because they're being real quiet about it. And I've had previous coworkers ask me, "Well, what happened? We don't understand why you're gone." So, and I show them, they shake their head. They just are in disbelief that I was terminated over that.
Well, then part of me says that, because if you start getting too gray about this, they're going to check your references. You have to assume that they're going to check your references. And so what you don't want...
my references are stellar. I mean, even my supervisors and everything will give me the utmost high recommendation.
Okay, wait a second. I know you're chomping at the bit, but let me ask you this. If you go interview for a company, ABC, all right, and they call your past company where you were terminated, you're telling me that the people who terminated you are going to say great things about you, and they're going to say...
Management terminated me, not my direct supervisor.
Okay, but my point is that you're going to have to plan for this. So I don't want to get cute. I don't want to try to describe or coach you on some sort of dance. I think you're going to have to deal with this. So I think you're going to have your post, and I'd print it out, and I would say, here's what happened. And I've learned, now here's the deal. I would show them the post, and then I would also say, here's what I've learned. even if you stand by what you posted, even if you think that you were wrongly terminated or that you were misunderstood or somebody was too sensitive, it doesn't matter. I would go, here's what I posted. Here it is. Here's who I am. Here's what I learned. And I would just own it and say, but for 26 years, I had a stellar performance, and then I would just focus on the positives of why you want to be there. I just don't, John, am I missing anything?
Yeah, here's the one thing, Craig, that's bothering me is you have a very victim-centric mentality. Okay?
How so?
Well, I don't even know. And even if that, you said it best, kid, even if that's how it happened, it comes across as manipulative and disingenuous. Okay. And so I love Ken's idea. When you go for an interview, you should have a padfolio of some sort. Print it off and put it in there. And if you get down that granular, then have the conversation. And I love what Ken said. If you didn't learn something from the exchange, if you didn't learn, hey, I hurt somebody's feelings and I didn't even mean to. Mm-hmm. I'm learning new things, which, by the way, I have done over the past 36 months. And I learn new things. Even if I think I didn't mean to hurt you, it doesn't matter what I meant. The person on the other end of what I said, hey, that hurt. Please don't do that. And I can do one of two things. Be an idiot and go, I'm going to say, or I can say, dude, I don't want to hurt you. I'm sorry. I'm going to change that. And so you walking away saying, what did you learn? I learned that things that I think are private on the internet are public, and so I'm going to be more responsible about what I post. I'm going to have some friends that I reach out to if I hurt their feelings and say, hey, did I say this the right way or the wrong way? Right? So regardless of what happened, it's I don't know, just management. Man, take some ownership. Right? Okay. I posted something. I got fired for it. I learned my lesson, and I'm moving forward. I'm a good guy. I got 26 years of track record. I have absolutely nothing in my body wants to hurt other people. And I did. I crossed a line that my company said I crossed a line. I didn't think I did, but I did. And I've learned my lesson. Like, you see what I'm saying? That is ownership. I'm taking this. I'm right. Sliding across the table. Totally different than all shucks, man. I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a hold your head up high
way of handling it.
Yeah. So here's what we're doing. We're saying take the elephant out of the room.
Absolutely.
You start acting like a politician, on those Sunday morning shows. They ask them a direct question. Is the sun hot? And then they start going, well, it depends on the position.
This guy talks about rain all the time. Like I thought I asked you.
So I didn't ask you that. So I would just completely own it that way. And John, I love the advice. There's something to be learned.
Oh,
and I love what you said. Don't take on the role of victim.
No.
Because you're trying to present yourself as a great candidate. And here's what they really care about. They only want to know one thing. And only one thing, Craig. You ready? Can Craig help us win?
Yep.
And if they think that Craig can help us win, they'll go, you're hired.
This is a guy that messed up and learned something. This is a guy that somebody messed him over, and he still learned something.
Yeah.
That's the guy I want on my team.
You're fine, Craig. No shame in your game. Head high. But take humility into the conversation. It's going to be okay. Thank you for trusting us with the call. You're going to be okay. This is The Ramsey Show.
Did you know property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike over the holidays? That's why my friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off on their award-winning security system. They offer 24/7 professional monitoring for under $1 a day. That's less than half the price of traditional security brands. Get 50% off any new system at simplysafedirect.com. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Welcome back, America. You have joined the conversation here on The Ramsey Show. I'm Ken Coleman, joined by Dr. John Deloney, taking your phone calls about money, your relationships, work situations. How do I get unstuck, whether it's relationally, financially, or professionally? That's what we're here to help you with. The phone number is 888-825-5225, 888-825-5225. Let's go to Buffalo, New York. Adam is there. Adam, how can we help?
Hey, guys. How are you doing here today?
We're having a blast. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. A little stressed, so hoping you guys can help me out here.
All right.
just to give you a little bit of background here. So earlier this week, my mother came to me and asked me to help her with their finances, doing a monthly budget and getting things in order as well too. Going over some general information with her, I found out that they have about $65K in debt, but they're also looking to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. And I told them to go to a financial advisor. They're a little untrusting of people outside the family when it comes to money. So I'm just looking for some information, something that I can relay back to them as far as how to kind of get out of this debt before they go looking to get into retirement.
Sure. How familiar are you with our baby steps?
Very familiar. I'm actually following them myself right now.
Great. Are they familiar with Dave and the Ramsey Show and Financial Peace or any of this stuff, or is this all foreign to them?
Kind of. I brought that up to her when we initially talked, and I found out all this information. So it's relatively new to them.
Okay, give us a quick snapshot of their financial picture. How you said $65,000 in debt. How much do they make collectively?
Collectively, a year probably $100K.
So $100K, and do they have 401ks, pension plans? What do they currently have in the form of retirement accounts?
Yep, in retirement account, they probably have around $400K in their 401ks. And then with pensions combined, when they do retire, they'll probably be making $2,100 a month with their pensions.
And what's their housing situation?
The house is paid off for, but they do have a home equity loan that the $65K is tied up in right now.
Okay, and then what is the rest of the $65K? Home equity loan, what else?
Home equity loan. With the home equity loan, they put a couple, I believe like 5-10 years ago, they redid their kitchen, which is probably, I believe, around between 30 to 50K. I don't have that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Number.
So the 65 is just the HELOC. There's nothing
Correct.
outside of that.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I mean, what you got to sit down with them and you got to sit down and explain the baby steps to them, right? I mean, just literally walk them through this. Baby step one is the $1,000 in their savings account, and then everything else. And they're obviously older, so gazelle intensity to go. We're paying off the HELOC, right? Everything it's one $65,000 snowball we're getting after, right? And so we just got to take that on every month. And they've got X amount of years that they want to retire, and so that paid for home plus their 401k. And the pension all puts them in a pretty decent space if they have no debt and they were to knock that out quickly and start investing as quickly as possible. Would you say that's true as their son?
Yes, definitely. And what I'm wondering is do they stop investing in their 401k and basically the money that they're putting into the 401k invest that into the debt?
Yes.
And once they knock that off,
absolutely. Yeah, they pause on that because they have a paid for house, right? And they've got a pension coming their way. So pause everything, and they are knocking this out. And walk them through this. Help them with a budget. If they're willing, and I don't hear that there's any tension on this, sit down with them and do a basic budget with them. Walk them through FPU and get them hooked up on every dollar. Literally do it with them and get them automated to where every extra dime is going into that HELOC, and they'll knock that out pretty quickly. And if either one of them can get some overtime or some side work, or how much could you sell? Do they have 10, 15 grand of stuff laying around the house? I mean, that's the gazelle intensity to try to knock this out sooner rather than later.
Gotcha. Yeah, and they have about $4,000 in their savings account. Should we drain that down to the 1K that you guys talk about? Baby step number one, put that towards the 65K, and then look to invest in that later.
Yep, today. So now they're down to 62. Show them that.
And Adam, I would start the conversation with, you guys have this end goal of retiring sooner rather than later. You're going to have to change the way you live to do this safely and smartly.
Gotcha.
That's how
I see it affecting their daily life and
it will,
and stuff like that as well too, and tension on their marriage as well. And so I just want to see them financially free and get back to the happy-go-lucky selves they are.
You can't want this more than they do.
Correct.
You want them to have the freedom you're feeling as you walk through this stuff, and you want them to have the optimism that you have walking through this stuff, and they have to want it. You can't force it on them. You can't make them do it. You can show them reality, which is you've got a math problem here, and y'all are going to have to change your lives a little bit if you want. And here's what retirement's going to look like, by the way. Here is your budget. So when my mom was talking about, hey, I'm starting to have a conversation about retirement, the first question I asked was, can y'all afford to do that? Because you want to retire all you want. That's a math problem first. And then an identity and what am I going to do next problem second. So when someone's like, I'm thinking about retiring, first question is, is that even a possibility for you? And some people think they just magically can retire when they get to 62 or 65, and math says otherwise, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, Adam, you're a good man. Hang on the line. Let's gift them with a year of Financial Peace University. Let's get them going. And John, that's great advice.
Tell them to watch the videos together. Yeah.
I was going to say, how does he approach that? He's going to gift them with us. It's our gift to him to give to his parents. What's the great way to kind of posture that?
I'm coming over to watch this with you.
Oh, okay, good.
I'll come watch it with you.
Great.
And here's what I'm doing in my house, and it's making a huge difference. You've invited me into this conversation. And so I'm just going to show it to you. I'm going to give you a ringside seat to it, and I'll do it with you.
Yeah, I love it. Great. Thanks for the call, Adam. You're a good son. Dennis is up in El Paso, Texas. Dennis, how can we help?
Hey, guys. So I am struggling with something that my wife and I have been going back and forth on for probably about a year or maybe even longer. So we became completely debt-free March of last year, and we live in a small home, that we didn't plan on staying in permanently. We thought it would be, a few months out of the year. And so the question is, we'd like to upgrade and go to a little bit larger home with the thought of we have a rental property right now and would also rent the one that we live in currently. I'm wondering what you all would do in my position where would you take out a mortgage on a new home that you'd go live in and collect more rental because there'd be 2 rentals instead of 1 property? Or would you save up for, let's say, 6 years? Because currently that's our plan, but we keep getting tempted. When we look at homes, it's like, ooh, start imagining, getting excited, and it's like, oh, we can actually probably make this work. And we always say, what would Dave Ramsey say? And so finally making this phone call and really appreciate y'all taking the question.
Yeah, we only have about a minute. I think this is pretty straightforward. Do you want to own 2 rental homes, or do you want to own that next home completely debt-free from the get-go? What do you want?
I'd like to have the rental and pay off that other home as soon as possible.
Well, I didn't ask you that.
Yeah.
I asked you, and so I think you wait 6 years. If it's going to take you 6 years to save up to pay cash for the upgrade, then that's the deal.
I wouldn't hold 2 liabilities
awesome.
And pay the mortgage company or pay the bank, give them a gift every month of my interest. Well, I don't know why you would do that.
Yeah.
You've done the hard work. You're debt-free.
Yeah,
Or sell the rentals and go buy a house with cash.
But that's why I asked the question that way, Dennis. What's more important? If the upgrade cash house is more important, then I'm selling one of the rentals instantly to get there. Or selling both.
That's exactly right.
But if I want to own 2 cash rentals, if that's more important, then it means I'm going to save up and wait longer to buy the upgrade.
Right.
You get to decide, but don't go into debt. You've already become debt-free. Don't go back. You don't need to. Decide what you want to do, Dennis. This is The Ramsey Show.
This is The Ramsey Show. I'm John Deloney, joined here by Ken Coleman, and we've got a beautiful couple on the debt-free stage.
Yes.
Sam and Nikki on the Ramsey Solution debt-free stage. How are you?
We are doing well.
Y'all
Better
doing
than
all
we
right?
deserve.
Better than I deserve.
Well
Oh,
done.
he has voices as well. That's exciting.
All right, where are y'all visiting us from?
Southern California.
SoCal. How much did you pay off?
$127,000 and some change.
$127,000. And you had to do it while paying Southern California taxes, man.
It was
Congratulations.
painful. Thank you.
Yes. How long did it take?
4 years, 4.5 years.
4.5 years. And what's your range of income during this time?
It started in the low 30s and it ended at about 140,000.
What?
Excellent. What do you do for a living?
3 jobs: day job in marketing, night job as an adjunct professor of English at the Masters University, and another night job as a staff writer for the Babylon Bee.
What? Wait a second. All right, I got to fan out a little bit. So the Babylon Bee, for maybe folks who don't know, you give us the description of Babylon Bee.
Christian news satire. News satire is a subset of satire.
Yeah.
Christian news satire is what it sounds like.
All right, so John, this is great because we have a Babylon Bee article here. I've got to read just a little excerpt because of the work you all do. It's so funny. The headline was, Biden calls Dave Ramsey's radio show for advice on paying off $31 trillion.
And this was yours, right?
Correct.
This is, and I'm going to brag on you really quick. So for our listener viewer, hang with us. This is Sam's work here. Okay, this is from this satirical article. Here we go. At first, the call had proceeded according to Ramsey's normal rhythm of uncovering, asking probing questions, followed by targeted recommendations for reaching financial freedom. Things derailed, however, when the caller elaborated on what had initially been positioned as a small deficit. Folks, the caller is Joe Biden. Owning up to spending $6 trillion per year while making only $4 trillion per year, causing Ramsey to explode. You spent $2 trillion more than you make? You got a freaking credit card from China? What the heck is wrong with you? The caller, Joe Biden, had tried to interject excuses, blaming MAGA Republicans and deer-wearing Kevlar vests and corn pop. But Ramsey was having none of it. He bellowed into his headset, "You need to buy a lot of envelopes for these trillions because you have been living dumb. D-U-M-B, dumb."
Dude, you nailed our boss, man.
So there it is.
Well done.
We had
Just
to
a
listen
little
to a
bit.
lot of hours to catch the voice.
Yes.
You got it. I got to tell you. And boy, wouldn't that be a fun call if that ever happened in real life. So.
Okay, hey, what happened? How'd you get involved with this weird gang that we run here? What happened?
We remember it like it was yesterday. We were Dave Ramsey adjacent for a year, and then driving one day, we had made a habit of listening to the podcast. He started yelling at us. He started ranting and raving about stopping the Dave Ramsey-ish method. He said, "Go full Dave Ramsey or do nothing." We realized we had been piddling along and only half doing it. We got serious within the week. Downloaded
it took
the
10
$10
minutes
app.
of shouting, but it worked.
Tim is so. What was going on in your lives that you thought we got to get out of debt here?
We just wanted to honor the Lord with our resources.
Huh.
We weren't being good stewards of our money. It was going in and out faster than we thought it was, and so we really wanted to honor the Lord. And after Dave's shouting at us, it just really turned a corner.
What kind of debt was it?
Student debt, about $60,000 from my student debt from a master's degree, about $60,000 from her for her undergrad.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, all student debt.
What was obviously the multiple jobs. Okay, that was a lot of effort. Give us some of the maybe extreme choices or big time sacrifices. Did you actually rice and bean it? I mean, what did that look like for you guys to make this kind of a dent in 4.5 years?
Well, by God's grace, He's given us 4 kids in 5 years.
Wow.
And at one point, we were living in an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment with 3 kids in the closet.
And I worked from home. I'd have to keep them at bay during my Zoom calls.
Yeah, so we had 3 toddlers in a closet in our 1-bedroom apartment.
On behalf of the mental health practitioners of America, we thank you because it's going to be incredible.
Redefining anxiety.
20 years from now.
Yeah, I think you guys should write a book on redefining patience.
Exactly.
I don't even know how you did that.
She is a stay-at-home mom, and she's the world's best. Couldn't have done it without her.
Wow. So what was I think back to those moments, and now you look back and you're experiencing financial freedom. You'll look back and think, man, we did it. What was the hardest part of this? It's got to be some dark moments. You got 3 people. Like, this isn't what you drew up in your head. This isn't why you went to grad school. This isn't what you dreamt for your 4 kids. Take us back to the darker moments.
It had to do with watching the interest payments rack up and see that they weren't going anywhere. That was one impetus.
Yeah, definitely. And we knew that we wanted to give our kids a room. I think that was a fire under us. We wanted to make sure that they grew up with a backyard, that we just got out of there as fast as we could, even though we loved it and we were so grateful for our cozy few years together, real close. But yeah, it was definitely a sacrifice.
Where does this, y'all have a very unique disposition. Y'all have chosen to look at the world as a series of challenges, that we're going to overcome, and it stinks, but that's part of life, and we're going to make our way. Where does that disposition come from? That's something that the world is lacking in a profound measure.
Romans chapter 8, all creation is groaning together for redemption. We believe we live in a fallen world, which really is a negative universe with a lot of friction that you've got to be prepared for. The Word of God prepares you for it if you live by it faithfully.
Yeah. Suffering produces perseverance, and perseverance endurance, and endurance hope.
And so every time a challenge gets laid in front of you, you instantly go to, there's going to be a light at the end of this. Let's go do it.
The gospel frees us from this continuous negative ebb and flow and descent into tragedy. We have hope now because of Jesus.
We consider it all joy when we fall into various trials, because we know that the testing of our faith produces steadfastness, and steadfastness has its work in us, and we can be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing on the other end.
Wow, I'm ready to take an offering right now. If we could get James to play on the keyboard, I could take an offering.
Shortly after,
fantastic.
After William Wallace yells freedom, we're gonna have
that's
an altar
incredible.
call.
So,
That's incredible,
working as a couple, obviously, we're seeing tremendous teamwork that we've already heard a little bit about. What would you say to other couples, not just couples, but people that are on this journey, whether they're in the beginning of the journey, they're midway through? What is the key to finishing this journey?
Get on the same page about it, and then talk to other people about it, so they are built-in accountability. My parents were actually able to help us a little bit during the process. Her parents were supportive. We had a lot of cheerleaders, but it all started with making sure we were both fully aligned with going full Dave Ramsey, not Dave Ramsey-ish.
What was it like making $140,000 and not having the lifestyle to show for it? Did people give you a hard time about it? Did y'all have to deal with your fair share of, in Southern California, of, oh, honey, right? Did y'all have to deal with that?
You know what? I feel like it's feast or famine with the real estate in Southern California. So everyone kind of lives, if we're making below, a certain amount of money, everyone lives in an apartment. And so it was just normal for us. But we budget a lot. So we still try, now that we're debt free, we really try to have fun with the kids and, take trips to out of state and do road trips.
So we talk a lot about peace, and Dave and I, several of us have talked about, I don't even know if we have a picture of peace anymore. It's become a mythological word. What is the peace you're experiencing? Be very specific. You just mentioned we get to go play with the kids. What are some other things, some tangible pictures of peace that have emerged in your home since you've become debt-free?
We've got a finish line that we've now passed, which has caused us to reevaluate our next finish line. And we didn't kind of start scrambling around blindly. We went back to the Word. We went back to the Bible. Our finish line now is stewardship, ongoing stewardship for the purpose of investing and giving and setting our children up for success.
So peace looks like y'all get to decide what happens next in your life, right?
Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, Sam and Nikki from Southern California paid off $127,000 in 4.5 years, making $30,000 to $140,000, and you're officially debt-free. Count them down. Let's hear your debt-free scream.
3, 2, 1. We're debt-free!
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You don't see that attitude very often. That's an inspirational attitude, you two. I love it. I love it. I love it. If Sam and Nikki can do it, you can too, America. Today's scripture of the day is Psalm 34, 4 through 5. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant, and their faces shall never be ashamed. Chuck Norris says, running from your fear can be more painful than facing it, for better or worse. Nothing like a good Chuck Norris.
I was going to say, easy for Chuck to say. Walker, Texas Ranger's not afraid of anybody.
I know. He doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down.
That's
Chuck
perfect.
Norris is amazing.
There's like a whole bunch of those out there.
It's a subgenre. Yes.
You know, it's funny. I never actually saw one episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. I like old school Chuck. Like old school Chuck, like from his, actually action films.
No,
it's
nothing
like he
like
took on a whole persona with that show.
There's something about wearing jeans and a button-up and a cowboy hat and doing karate. It's incredible.
Says
Speaking
the guy
of which,
from Texas.
Listen, that's the hard-hitting content you get on this show. Do us a huge favor.
Yeah. See, you want more of that? You want more breakdowns of Chuck Norris and his TV characters?
No, here's the deal. Every show is out there asking you to buy stuff. We're always asking you to, come to our live events, buy FPU. Not everybody's in a position to do that. But if this show has helped play a role in your money transformation and healing your marriage, helping you find work that matters, here's a way you can help other people get that same info by buying nothing. All we ask you to do is hit subscribe. All we ask you to do, whether it's podcast or on YouTube, please leave a 5-star review, letting folks know, hey, this is a good show. It helps kick the show up into the algorithm, and it gets it into the hands of more people.
Share it.
Okay? Share it with your friend. That's right. If somebody says, I can't, forward them the episode that you're listening to that inspired you and say, yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Please leave your reviews and your 5-star reviews and subscribe. All right, let's go out to Chicago and talk to Claire. What's up, Claire?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You got it. What's up?
Well, I'm calling because I've recently come into the Dave Ramsey kind of clan.
Welcome to the gang.
I'm really excited about it. My husband and I are debt-free, but we're kind of slowly trying to work through the baby steps. So we're really blessed. I think already because I'm kind of still learning, step 5 or 6. We just had a son about a few months ago. We've already got a 529 plan started for him, both already contributing 15% to our retirement fund.
Oh, you're all in. We
are all in already. We've got the 3 to 6 month savings, $1,000 savings, all good there.
Awesome.
So my question for you today is just about our savings accounts. We've got multiple types of savings, one for car, one for travel, one for house, plus our 3 to 6 months and the 1,000 emergency and, just a checking account. So I don't know if we should really kind of be focusing all of our savings, taking it all out of those and putting it towards the mortgage. We do have, in addition to our savings account, we have, the Roth. We both have Roths plus our retirements through work. So just was wondering if maybe we should also take we have about $14,000 in a savings through that we're investing right now, and didn't know if we should be putting that towards a mortgage and everything else we have towards those other small savings accounts for house, for car, emergencies.
Okay, here's what I hear. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. You and your husband went bananas. BANANAS. Y'all went for it, and there was a lot of energy and a lot of y'all were going, and then you were debt free, and you didn't know what to do with all that unused energy, and so you created chaos. Now you've got 14 different accounts doing 14 different things. You're still following the plan, but you're trying to keep that adrenaline going by making your life way more complicated than it needs to be. Do y'all need a new car in the next 2 to 3 years?
No, we don't.
Okay, then I would not have a car fund. Are y'all saving up to buy a house?
Nope, already have a house. We have everything done except for the mortgage.
There you go. So, see what I would maybe have, George and I disagree on this, and that's fine. It's just how our households run. George Camel has his emergency fund in an online savings account, okay, and a high-yield savings account. I have mine in my same checking account. I don't mess with it, and it just is a line item, like it's a special account underneath my master checking account. Okay, I would get rid of all of these different accounts at all these different banks and consolidate your money and let your money do 1 or 2 or 3 things at a time, not 15. So you're putting your 15% into retirement. You're going to pay your house down, and you're going to put a little bit of money into the 529 every month, and that's it. And what y'all are going to have to do is learn how to live and love your life, not running from the lion that's chasing you. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Nope. Certainly do.
Am I right?
So just kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Simplify.
At some point, you can become addicted to the adrenaline and the cortisol. And you're probably also somebody who has imaginary conversations with people that you're never going to fight with, but you have it in your head and you win every one of them. And your husband probably has a bunch of spreadsheets and schemes and plan, right? Am I right?
Right.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
I'm actually the one with the spreadsheets.
Okay. Yeah. Reverse it. And he's the one having imaginary conversations. I'll tell my boss. You're not going to tell your boss anything. You're never going to. So stop spinning yourselves up. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Now it's about peace. Now it's a life that we can smile and enjoy and kick our feet up because of the hard work that we've done. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And let's make a plan to get this mortgage paid off. And the way you guys are so far ahead of everybody, y'all are going to be fine financially. Just keep investing your 15%. Keep putting some money in the 529 and get that house paid off. Is that cool?
Sounds great.
Simplify, simplify, simplify. You are way ahead of the curve. Ken, what do you got?
You got it. I think you did it.
All right. Let's go to Zane in Boulder, Colorado. Hey, Zane, what's up, man?
Mr. Coleman and Dr. D, how you guys doing today?
We are rocking on to the break of dawn, my brother. How can we help?
Well, I'm thinking about dropping out of college, and I wanted to get some words of wisdom.
Okay, what are you going to drop to?
I was thinking about opening my own business.
What kind of business?
I'd be a blower door verification for residential houses.
Okay. And what is the reason that you want to start that business, and thus you've got to drop out of college to do it?
Well, my ultimate goal was to own my own business where I'm offering trusted service. So my first goal was to finish college and be a financial advisor.
Okay. What changed?
The school part. And also paying for that.
Meaning you hate it and don't think you need it, or you can't afford it? What is the big driver of this?
I could probably afford it. It's more of not liking the school part.
Yeah, well, I got great news for you. You don't have to have a college diploma to be a financial advisor. Now, you do have to get some education in the form of certifications and whatever state-by-state requirements are there, but you don't have to have a diploma. So this feels reactionary to me. And I'm all for following your heart, but I don't hear a lot of heart. I hear a head idea that, well, I always kind of wanted to work for myself, and the school thing is not me. And by the way, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with someone going, college isn't for me, but it's not just a feeling. It has to be fact-based. And so if you want to be a financial advisor, we wouldn't be thinking about whatever the service is that you described. That's not that's an idea just to let me be free and work for me. That's not a good enough of a reason to drop. Now, if I drop out to then put my time and effort into becoming trained and certified and with an eye on getting to work for a financial advisor and working my way up, and this is something that I really, really want to do because I see a sense of mission behind the results of helping people with their finances. I love coaching and advising people, and I happen to be a pretty good communicator and go with numbers. Check, check, check. I'm okay with that. If stay there until we find the thing. Hang on the line.
You asked the best. Oh, go ahead. You give
I just want to give him the Get Clear assessment. I wanted you to take this assessment and figure out, what are we moving to?
I love that question. Not what are we running from, what are we going to? Great question, Ken. Hey, that wraps up today's show. Thanks to Austin, Ben, James, Andrew, the whole gang. And thanks to you, America, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on The Ramsey Show. Hey, it's John Deloney, co-host of The Ramsey Show. Did you know over 18 million people listen to The Ramsey Show every week? A lot of those people listen on one of our 600-plus radio stations across the country. To find a station near you, go to RamseySolutions.com/show.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people who are doing extraordinary things. I release 3 episodes of Newt's World every week, and I want to invite you to listen. Hopefully, we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Have you ever wondered what the media and big tech is hiding from you? Like massive stories that actually affect you in your life that they don't want you to see because they make the left and the Biden administration look bad. Well, now there's a podcast dedicated to exposing all of that each and every day. So download the fastest growing podcast in the conservative movement, the Ben Ferguson Show podcast right now. That's right. You can listen to Ben Ferguson Show podcast on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Download it right now.
Hello, America. John Solomon here. I love doing the reporting that we do at justthenews.com. Love going on Fox News when we can. Oh, and now I've taken all of the news making, all the interviews, all of the investigative scoops that we do, and we turned it into a delightful daily podcast. Yep, it's called real simple, John Solomon Reports, because that's what we do. We report. We give you facts so that you make up your own mind. We try to inform but not indoctrinate. How do you do it? All you got to do is listen to John Solomon Reports 7 days a week, starting on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to today's edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. This is Buck. I'm live with you here on Black Friday. Rolling solo today. Clay taking the day with the fam. We got a lot to talk about, my friends. We have, first of all, our respective turkey-induced food comas to recover from. I don't know what it is, but, you just tell yourself on Thanksgiving, you got to have seconds, you probably got to have thirds, and maybe you got to have fourths, And then you sit there and you go, oh, you feel like a large animal that has been hit with a sedation dart, Can't remember who the comedian was who said that years ago, but you do feel like that. You're just slowed down, and then you got to turn on the TV, you go, oh, man. And you always make the promises to yourself, dude, next year, I'm just going to have a salad on Thanksgiving. And then you wake up the next day, you're like, actually, we needed more gravy. So this is the Thanksgiving cycle that we all go through. I hope you all had a good one. Those of you who saw friends, family, loved ones are feeling a little bit refreshed. Probably a lot of you going out getting some deals, some sales today. My fiance Carrie is the one. She loves a good sale. She is up on the sales. I'm not that consumerish. I don't know what's going on. I would usually rather pay more as long as I don't have to deal with anyone or anything. If they'll send it to me, I'll pay more. I don't want to have to actually wait in line and do stuff. Carrie loves it. She loves a good deal. So a lot of you out there, I know you're into getting a good deal. I respect it. Black Friday, there's some very, very effective financial options out there for all of you. We got a lot of news to actually hit today, which was a bit of a surprise. But before I tell you about some of what is in that rundown for all of us, we're going to do something a little different today on the show because I'm hanging out with you solo for 3 hours, and then I'm going to go hang with the fam and watch whatever's left of the U.S. men's national soccer team. Whatever's left of them, I don't know, might be the last few minutes. I'm not hopeful for a big win, but whatever. We won in 1776, and that's what really matters. But we're going to do a little Ask Me Anything. Some of you may be familiar with this, AMA. Lines are open. Now's your chance. It is Black Friday. You're getting great deals. You're recovering from Thanksgiving. Some of you, like me, are working. But if you have an interesting question for me, I can only answer to some degree on behalf of Clay because he's not on today. But if you have any question on anything interesting, something you've always wanted to ask, obviously has to get through our call screener with being something people want to talk about, but it's an AMA on Clay and Buck today. 800-282-2882. I hate when I know, it's my original phone number from a long time ago. 800-282-2882. You all know that. This is amazing. The phone number, I think I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes. 2882. It gets so ingrained in the brain. Okay, stories I want to talk to you about today. We have ESG investing for your 401k, which
maybe sounds like, oh, whatever, but it's actually a big deal. This is essentially social justice investing excuse with your retirement money. Biden administration just did this week. Not a surprise there. We've got China with what the Wall Street Journal is calling a zero COVID reckoning underway right now. Law school without the LSATs. Biden talking about banning semi-automatic weapons. And the guy who is going after Trump, Jack Smith. I've been looking into his background. You will be unsurprised to know that he is a dogged and often rabid partisan. His wife's a big Democrat donor. He goes after two categories of people in political office, it seems. Republicans and egregiously slimy Democrats who are no longer useful to the Democrat Party. That's the important difference. So, like, after John Edwards is completely disgraced and no one cares and he's never going to run for office again because people found out that he thought this was true. He said this on TV. You guys all remember John Edwards from 2008, that campaign? I'm sorry. Wait, no. Yeah, was it? No, 2004, 2008. I can't even remember now. It's been a while. I'll check it out. But John Edwards, who said that he cheated on his wife while she had cancer, but on TV said, but she was in remission. That was his excuse. That is a guy who is never going to achieve elected office after that interview. Then the prosecutor was able to go after him for some, and wasn't even successful, by the way. I think it was a hung jury. So we'll get into some of that. But first, you had Joe and Jill Biden calling in yesterday. It's Thanksgiving Day, Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. I'm here in New York City. The parade. Did any of you guys? Did any of you go to parades? The only parades that I tend to like are veterans. I like Veterans Day parades because I love showing the love for the veterans, and any parade with bagpipes. Something about people marching with the bagpipes. I feel like William Wallace grabbing my claymore, the sword, not the landmine, and ready to run out there and take the fight to the enemy. I don't know. Bagpipes get me fired up. Not a huge parade goer myself. I'm sure it's a lot of fun for the kids. But Joe and Jill Biden called in yesterday to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, and I think this is kind of a metaphor for their presidency, for his presidency. Here's what it sounded like.
Hello, Mr. President? I don't think I can hear you. Can you hear me, Mr. President? Yeah. Yes, we hear you. Hello? Happy Thanksgiving, Mr. President. Are you there?
We're here.
Oh! Happy Thanksgiving.
He's like, is the phone? Is that a phone thing? Am I supposed to yell into the phone? I'm going to whisper creepy style. Yeah, there you go. There was a little bit of a moment there. Couldn't reach him. And you say, well, of course, maybe the cell phone service is bad. It's a parade. You can hear it in the background. But maybe they also just caught him kind of doing the thing he does where it seems like he might be napping, but he's actually awake. His eyes are open, but it's like not really clear. They're not even paying attention. More to the point on policy, though. He did say recently that he thinks that we should... Do we have him saying, guys, that he wants to ban... Or basically he was complaining about the sale of semi-automatic weapons. He was doing a press event. We can grab this one for later. He was doing a press event up in Nantucket. And Biden talked about how he's got to get new gun restrictions. And this was the quote from him, which maybe we can pull. The idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick, Biden said. Just sick. It has no socially redeeming value. Zero, none. Not a single solitary rationale except profit for the gun manufacturers. So I guess we were all supposed to use like a flintlock, maybe a muzzle loader, black powder. Semi-automatic. What weapons does he think? Oh, you could have like old school. Wasn't it Elmer Fudd who had the side-by-side old school shotgun? You see a lot of over-unders now. I haven't seen a side-by-side shotgun in a long time, but you can have the Elmer Fudd shotgun, basically. And remember, Joe Biden also, not exactly a firearms expert. Maybe I'll grab this one, too, for later so people can take a trip down memory lane. Remember when he said buy a shotgun, buy a shotgun. And then he said, when the bad guys are there, just fire it off in the air. It's like, I don't think firing off a slug in a densely populated residential area as a warning shot because you think there might be a burglar, but who knows, maybe it's a neighbor's cat. That is a really bad idea and could also violate a whole bunch of laws. So probably bad advice for everybody. But look, the Biden administration is leading into the fact that they're going to be around now for 2 more years. You're going to see, I think, some even crazier, more left-wing policy being pushed by them. They won't be able to get it through because of the Republican control in the House. But they're still going to make the case. They're still going to say it. They're going to get their base as fired up as possible. The media is going to be all in lockstep with them. And this is where they're going to try. If you look at, I think, the second term of the Obama administration, you have a pretty reliable template for what's going to be happening here. They went for amnesty. They went for massive climate change regulation through executive order. Right? Those were the things. They got health care done for Obamacare in the first 4 years of Obama. And then it turned into the other 2 areas where they want total control and dominance. And it was on environmental issues through executive order, basically, and pushing for the massive amnesty, which everyone now recognizes it's at least 20 million. Right? They won't say that really out loud. You heard Chuck Schumer recently say, well, we don't really know what the number is. They know it's a lot more than the 12 million they've been saying for the last 15 years. That's for sure. Because we've had 5 million enter the country under Joe Biden's first 2 years in office, not even quite 2 years yet. So that means the number has to be close to 17, 18 million. And that's not including gotaways, visa overstays. So you're at least at 20 million. And there's some people probably shouting out right now, Buck, it's really actually more like 30, which if you talk to Border Patrol, they will say that is quite possibly the case. I've spoken to Border Patrol about this. They said the official number is ridiculous. But the truth is the Biden administration, even in the face of the red wave that splashed in the wrong states, that's really how to think about it now. We had a basically, what was it now, an 8 million or 9 million vote swing. 3 million additional Republicans voted over Democrats in the midterm election. And I think we were down 5 or 6 million votes to Democrats, maybe even 7 million votes the last time around. So you're looking at a massive swing toward Republicans, but we didn't clean up what we had to in certain key states in terms of election processes. We didn't play the game by the rules that they had. So, yeah, you can make the case the American people, by and large, are pretty frustrated with what has happened during the first 2 years of Biden. But the Biden regime now, especially given the fact that, they managed to keep Senate control. We'll talk a little bit about the Herschel-Warnock race today, too. I think Herschel Walker, did he challenge? Yes, he challenged Joy Reid to a debate. I just got to tell you, I'm gonna say this right now. I put my money on Herschel every time. Herschel's a competitor. Here is Herschel Walker calling out Joy Reid and saying straight up, he's ready to debate anytime, anywhere.
I love to debate Joy Reid. Senator Warnock, he's a slick talker, smooth dresser guy. But in that debate, I took him to school because he found out a lot of things he didn't know. And I can do the same thing with Joy Reid any time of the day. I think people to sit on TV and to talk is easy to talk. But I've been a man that have worked my whole life. I've built companies. I've signed in front of a paycheck. They've never done any of that. They don't know how to do it. I do. And I said, any day of the week she want to debate, she can show up here and I debate her as well. On any subject, she come up with the subject and let's go at it.
I like it. I'd watch it. I think a lot of you would too. The Walker v. Reid 2022 throwdown on the air. It would be quite interesting to watch that one play out. So we'll return to that race in a little bit. Like I said, it's Ask Me Anything Day on Black Friday. So 800-282-2882. Light up those lines. Let's all hang out because I'm solo here in New York City for a few hours. Still recovering from I ate so much sweet. I go hard on the sweet potatoes. I go all in on the sweet potato casserole. So I hit that very, very heavily yesterday. Still feeling it today. And right about now, a higher level of Christmas shopping and frenzy is kicking in. It's Black Friday. You see it all around you, right? That's what those deals are going to do. People are motivated. They're out there. If you're operating a business that ships a lot of packages and you're in and out of the post office a lot this time of year, let me save you hours of time this holiday season. Go online and go to Stamps.com. It's a one-stop website for anything you'd ship via mail or UPS. Sign up now and you'll be printing your own postage in minutes. Use Stamps.com to print stamps and the exact meter reading on the package you're shipping off. All you need is a computer and printer. If you need a package pickup, you can easily schedule it through your Stamps.com dashboard. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code Clay and Buck for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, enter promo code Clay and Buck. Again, that's Stamps.com. Go check it out now. Click the microphone at the top of the page, and then enter that code Clay and Buck at checkout.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton on the front lines of truth.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people across a variety of topics. On Newt's World, we've had some extraordinary guests join us, like former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Ending the war in Vietnam was a necessity in order to help heal the divisions in the country.
John Clifton, the CEO of Gallup.
The world has been winning the war against hunger for 4 decades. In 2014, it switched. We have a serious hunger crisis.
And House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
What I've really found the Republican Party to be, it's the party of the people, the working people of America.
I release 3 episodes of Newt's World podcast every week, and I hope you'll find my conversations engaging and informative, and hopefully we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Have you ever wondered what the media and big tech is hiding from you? Like massive stories that actually affect you in your life that they don't want you to see because they make the left and the Biden administration look bad. Well, now there's a podcast dedicated to exposing all of that each and every day. So download the fastest growing podcast in the conservative movement, the Ben Ferguson Show podcast, right now. That's right. You can listen to Ben Ferguson Show podcast on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Download it right now.
The Monica Crowley podcast is a whip-smart, fast-paced, sassy blend of politics, culture, history, and humor, all brought to you with the sunny optimism of Ronald Reagan's happy warrior spirit. Hi, I'm Monica Crowley, and I've served 2 American presidents, Richard Nixon in his last years as Foreign Policy Assistant, and Donald Trump as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. You've seen me on TV, read my New York Times best-selling books and popular columns, and now you can download my podcast, where you will hear one-of-a-kind insights and interviews. So join me on the Monica Crowley podcast. It's true appointment listening. Join our legion of happy warriors here on the Monica Crowley podcast. Listen to the Monica Crowley podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Buck. I'm in solo today. Clay on vacation. Black Friday all across the country. I know a lot of you are in line or on your way to stores. Actually, people probably aren't. Well, maybe you're in the checkout line, but the lines happened the night before, right? I remember being here in New York City outside of Best Buy, and it looked like people were waiting for like a Bon Jovi concert reunion Ticketmaster opening or something, where they were camped out on the street for 100 people deep. But no, it was to buy a DVD player, which does anyone even own DVD players anymore? It was to buy a DVD player for half price or whatever it was. The doorbusters. And I think it is a good sign, because I always felt like the apocalypse was nigh whenever you'd see these videos of people getting into the fights. You know, whether it was at a Kmart or a Walmart or wherever, and people were getting too many of the Tickle Me Elmo dolls or something, and all of a sudden it's like, I need a Tickle Me Elmo, My kids are going to be furious. And then the fisticuffs come out, and you get adults who are, laying haymakers on each other because the store ran out of My Little Ponies. And you know what I mean? Like, look, it's a stressful time for everybody. When people are under stressful situations, they can react poorly. I know I have to do like internal breathing and work on achieving some calm. I do a little more nose breathing when people think it's okay to be on speakerphone in public places and have loud conversation on speakerphone. It's bad enough to have a loud cell phone conversation, especially if you're in a restaurant or where people are trying to relax a little, but on speakerphone, just letting it rip, they're just getting really loud. So I have to calm myself. But I will tell you, I had an easier flight to get up. I had been down in Florida. I came up to New York City. I had an easier flight than my older brother. I'm going to tell you guys about this one. So my older brother, he's a very calm fellow, very calm, very cool and collected. And he had nothing to do with this, but the fact that this happened and spilled into his lap, well, kind of literally, just goes to show you what modern airline travel is like these days. So he calls me after all this, or actually texted me while it's happening. Then I talked to him later about it. He's on his way up from Florida, from Miami to New York City as well. We're on different flights, and now he said that he was somewhat asleep in the seat, kind of dozing in and out. Been a long day, and they had already had an almost 3-hour tarmac delay. Now I don't know what it is about tarmac delay. And I know we're all Thanksgiving traveling and stuff, whatever. Delay when you're at the gate and you see the number. First of all, when they change it twice, you are screwed. That is a very bad sign. The first, 15 or 30 minute delay, you might be okay. Take a deep breath, find your inner chi, find your peace. But when that 30 minutes goes to an hour, now things might get out of hand. Like now it's, now it might be 2 hours, 5 hours, canceled, it gets a little crazy. But at least you're at the gate and you can make your way over to one of those newsstands. And I always do this too. I'm like, what books and magazines are they selling in newsstands? Like, I don't even know if magazines would exist if it weren't for airport kiosks, right? So you flip through them, you go, oh my gosh, Maxim magazines, it does still exist. It was a big thing when I was in high school. But, not that I read Maxim. I'm there, political philosophy, the very important stuff. I'm not in the airport reading those other things. And so sure enough, if you're on the plane, though, if you are stuck on the tarmac, you are feeling like you're in some kind of an experiment because it's not comfortable. You're sitting there. You're not going anywhere. And you can kind of feel the anxiety rising. So my brother's on a plane coming up for Thanksgiving. So it's Thanksgiving travel. It's the day before Thanksgiving, or I guess it was late Tuesday night, so technically maybe 36 hours before Thanksgiving. But people are coming up for Thanksgiving, and he's kind of fallen asleep on the plane. As you know, there were, I think in 2021, it was the all-time high year for assaults on airplanes, like people losing their minds. Why were people losing their minds? Because of the masking, which is stupid, and the people that think it's not stupid are even crazier. And, there's all this stress and drama associated with it. So my brother's there, and he says he wakes up. He's kind of dozing off, wakes up because there is a woman screaming at the top of her lungs on a plane that is in flight. Stop him! Stop him! And my brother says he kind of comes to, and what's your first thought when you hear someone yelling, stop him on a plane? Is this a guy who's going to be, trying to light a bomb in his shoe? Or is this, you think terrorism, right? I think most people, if you hear shrieking, stop him on a plane, and everyone on the plane yelling, it's really loud all of a sudden. But then he realized that wasn't that, because two dudes came flying into his row, one guy pummeling the other guy. I mean, just laying into him. I've had my brother tell me this story like 3 times. Laying into him with, punching, and, swinging wildly. And the stewards, stewardesses, whatever, the people that wear the uniforms and give you the drinks, they come running in and they're like trying to separate these people. My brother describes them as a stocky guy and a lanky guy. So there's a stocky guy, lanky guy. And they finally were able to kind of separate them. They take them from one side. They take them to different sides of the plane. So one goes up toward the crew and the cabin, whatever, the cockpit. That's what I'm looking for. The other one goes back toward the bathrooms. And everyone on the plane is very rattled, but at least they know, okay, well, it's two guys who got into a straight up fist fight in the aisle of this completely full flight, taking people to New York for Thanksgiving. By the way, somehow this didn't make it onto we were looking for, where's the there's always video, but it actually happened. The fight happened so quickly that nobody, my brother said the punching and stuff lasted maybe 20 seconds. So it wasn't like when people stand up, start shouting, then this crew comes over and they start getting, saucy with the crew. So it happened too quickly. But, they said the fighting, there were some real punches being thrown. Now, you got to remember this flight of people. So start putting yourself into this. Whatever you dealt with this Thanksgiving, whatever libs were at your table who were like, I think Biden's doing a great job. Whatever. If Aunt Ethel is there or your second cousin Steve sitting down being like, well, Kamala Harris will make a fantastic president. Whatever you've been through for Thanksgiving, you were not on this flight. 3 hours of tarmac delay, fisticuffs in the air, plane goes into panic. Who wants to guess what happens next? By the way, the plane at this point is basically over North Carolina. So those of you who know your geography understand maybe an hour and 15 from New York City in a 3-hour flight, right? Maybe hour and a half max. They go, the captain comes on. We're sorry, everybody, but we're going to have to make an emergency landing in Atlanta. So now the flight is diverted because of these two idiots who punch each other. I want to give you the backstory to how the punching started, and then I want to tell you the final part of the story. Wherever you are, those of you who are making your way back to home right now, you might be in some traffic, or if you're standing in line at Costco and you're like, why am I doing this for this Black Friday sale? I do this every year. I'm wasting so much time. I should be, watching the U.S. get its butt kicked by England in soccer. Not that that's definitely happening, but it's probably happening. Again, at least you weren't on this flight. So they divert it. They divert the flight and they land it in Atlanta. And the two guys get taken off by police right away. So everyone kind of, now what are you thinking if you're on this flight that, remember, 3-hour tarmac delay before it gets in the air? It's in the air. The fight happens. Now it's supposed to end in New York. It's in Atlanta. Atlanta's not close to New York, right? So this is not like you can hop on a bus to finish off the journey. And sure enough, they take the two guys off the flight and, everyone's thinking, all right, we're, here we are. Let's go, Captain. The bad apples have been removed. They tell everybody, we're sorry, everyone, but we're calling it. We're deplaning. They go to deplane. Now, before I tell you how this whole thing finishes up, the reason my brother says that he had to ask a couple of people behind him who saw the whole thing. It was as simple as this. You know how when you're walking into the bathroom in a plane, and you can I always feel like it's hard to keep your balance, and it's not really wide enough to get through easily. One guy was going to the bathroom. The other guy was coming from the bathroom. And they kind of bumped into each other. And, stocky guy, lanky guy. And instead of just being like, look, we're on a plane, whatever, they did the, dirty look thing, like they're in a bar. They gave each other dirty looks. Nothing beyond that. Lanky guy sat down in the chair. Stocky guy goes to do, the restroom thing. And he's coming back. And apparently, with lanky guy facing ahead, not knowing anything, not a care in the world, punches him in the back of the head. Stocky guy punches him in the back of the head. Like it was kind of open fist a little bit, but just whacks him, totally sucker punches in the back of the head. Lanky guy gets up, starts laying haymakers on him. Whole plane is shouting and screaming, stop it. Whatever. My brother's there. He, is saying, stop. He's trying to get them. He said at one point they pushed into his aisle. So he's right in the middle of this. Oh yeah, it was right there. So no air marshals, apparently, by the way. You're always wondering, you always like to think that if something bad happened, you'd be like, it'd be like Chuck Norris jumping into action right there. Roundhouse kick diffuses the threat. He's got an amazing mustache and everyone's like, we're good. But the funniest part of this whole thing for me, again, as told to me by my brother Mason, funniest part of this whole thing is that, so now they've told everybody, they've landed in Atlanta. Everyone thinks they're going home for Thanksgiving to see their families or whatever, right? That's what they're doing, pretty much. They've been now, this flight is is canceled in the wrong city. So they're not, you're not even in your home city if you're from Miami anymore. You're in Atlanta. It's late at night. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So the flight situation is really meager. Now, they didn't realize that the police spoke to the two guys who got into the fight. Only one of them, I suppose, because the crew backed up Lanky Guy's comments about what happened. Only Stocky Guy actually got arrested. But they didn't see what was discussed in the terminal or, off the jetway. So everyone on the plane who was furious, and brothers, these people are just cursing, saying they'll never fly. Notice I haven't named the airline. They will never fly this airline again. All that kind of stuff. Because, I don't want to, it's not the airline's fault. I don't blame the airline for this. Sure enough, when they all have to deplane, who is the first person in line trying to get on the one flight that seems likely to be able to get people? The first one is trying to get seats, Lanky Guy. And they see Lanky Guy negotiating how he's going to get on the only flight that they think they'll be able to. I think they had one or two other flights they could get. But they freak out. Well, the passengers are all screaming at him. The gate agent saying she's going to call security. Everyone needs to calm down. They're just shouting and all this stuff. So these things can happen, my friends. These things can happen. By the way, the food. So that was my Thanksgiving travel story. That is the story of Thanksgiving and the travel that I thought you should all hear. So whatever you are going through today, whatever you are dealing with today or have in your travel situation, you get a flat tire, it's not that bad. You listen to Clay and Buck show on your iPhone on the iHeart app. You're good to go. There's things you can do. You were not on that flight, my friends. You were not stuck there. And yeah. Oh, by the way, another thing is apparently this flight attendants, just one of them was just shouting, "This is a federal offense! This is a federal offense!" while they're fighting. And I wanted to be like, I don't think they care at this point. Once some dude's punching you in the face and there's like little cans of mini tomato juice flying around and stuff, I think at that point you're on your own. You know what's amazing? MyPillow. As a company, the products, it's phenomenal. I'm telling you. You purchase their pillows, their slippers, their Giza sheets. This is why they're so successful, because once you try them, you're going to love them. And Mike loves to share his gratitude with the people, you, the customers of MyPillow, who have built it into this amazing company. Their latest offer is on the MyPillow 6-piece towel set. Made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. Set comes with 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $89.98. For a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.98 or $50 off with promo code Clay and Buck. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty. Through the holiday season, they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. Orders placed between now and Christmas Day will have their money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2023. Just go to MyPillow.com, click on Radio Listener Specials, and you get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. Enter promo code Clay and Buck, or just call this number, 800-792-3269.
One truth revealed after another. Clay, Travis, and Buck Sexton.
So I just told you that whatever your flight or travel issues may be, you weren't on the flight from hell that my older brother was on to get to New York over the Thanksgiving holiday. It's important, I think, to keep perspective about all matters in life. Perspective so essential. That's why I also think about how, as much as it is a frustration that, for example, in New York State, Kathy Hochul is still going to be the governor, which is a level of stupidity that the notion that she should be in charge of the state is so stupid that it also makes me a bit sad for people who can't figure out that she is, no matter what your politics, not someone who should be in charge of anything. By the way, my brother did make it home. He got into New York, I think, about 2 o'clock in the morning. He got a seat on the very last flight out of Atlanta to get him into New York City. So he was okay, but his patience, he is more patient than me. His patience was frayed, though, by the end of this ordeal. And I'm still surprised there was no word of this in the newspapers or the media or anything. Usually these kinds of things, I feel like if there's viral video, there was no viral video. It was also the lights were darkened in the cabin. So I think a lot of people weren't even aware of what was going on because it was like 9:00 at night when this went down. So they had already darkened the cabin and people weren't really, everyone's watching the screens in front of them. So anyway. But at least you're not, despite the fact that you may have Governor Newsom if you live in California, or Kathy Hochul if you live in New York, or you still have, Mayor Lori Lightfoot if you live in Chicago, or, go around. Some of these leaders are just atrocious at their jobs. You're not stuck in Xinjiang province, China, which has been locked down for COVID for months now. Okay? It is crazy what is happening right now. This is the largest country in the world. So this isn't some, by population, this isn't some, oh my gosh, there could be a dystopian future that we face. But it's all theoretical. This is happening in China right now. COVID-19 cases, the Wall Street Journal reports, trigger a fresh wave of lockdowns in China's major cities. Those living in towns across the country's remote western region of Xinjiang say they have been enduring a lockdown that has lasted months, and the officials have been keeping quiet. Local authorities started ordering residents to stay home after COVID clusters began spreading in early August. The main cities have been shut down. By the way, there are now rolling shutdowns in a number of Chinese cities because their policy, and little Fauci would be proud because they're about as crazy as the Fauci over in China. Fauci looks at what they do with envy. Their policy is still COVID zero, which is amazing because they are actually having record levels of COVID cases right now. There are a number of reasons for this, but certainly one of the reasons for all of the COVID that is going on over there is that their vaccine, if you can believe it, they have a homegrown vaccine. They didn't get the one that the West has been using and now trying to just distribute to developing countries. Like, hey, you want our shots for the virus that it doesn't stop it or anything? But, a lot of countries are like, I don't know about that. But in China, they have a homegrown, or their own version of the vaccine that is even more worthless, if that's possible, and even a little more risky, I'm sure, in terms of side effects profile. So that's going on there right now. And the people, over 1 billion people in China are increasingly waking up the reality that their leadership is just authoritarian and manic and doesn't care about this. Now, of course, it's a totalitarian country in a lot of ways already. So their threshold for this stuff is higher than ours is. But that's the point, even in a country that is a totalitarian communist dictatorship, even in that country, and it's not really a pure communism, but as we all know, it's still the Chinese Communist Party runs that place. I think there are about 1,000 people in the Chinese Communist Party who wield real power, and Xi Jinping stands above all of them and is the generalissimo. He is the ultimate dictator. He calls all the shots. But they've realized COVID zero is your policy, but we're having record levels of COVID outbreak right now in China. And they're overwhelming their ICUs. Their lockdowns have created a dynamic that many of us warned about all along, which is you're going to get COVID. You're going to get COVID. There is no hiding forever from COVID, but locking down your population creates enormous systemic, economic, and psychological and societal risks. And really no benefit because you are just delaying infection. Now, they would have argued, and they did argue even in this country, well, by delaying infection, we're saving lives because the vaccines are going to end this thing. That's not true. That's not what happened. So then we have to sit around and say, okay, well, considering that the vaccines, as you recently heard, a majority of the people dying from COVID in this country recently have been vaccinated. A majority of the people who die from COVID have been people who are fully vaccinated. And the term fully vaccinated doesn't even really make sense anymore because you're never fully vaccinated. You got to get shots, 5 and 6 coming up here, and then shots 7 and 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12. Little Fauci all along saying it's good for you. Get another round. It's so amazing. You look great with your mask on. It's going to keep you safe. The people that push for all that stuff were horrifically, categorically, and catastrophically wrong. Whether they're Democrat policy people, the Biden White House, or, your cousin Phil who showed up at Thanksgiving dinner masking up between bites the last 2 years, maybe masking up between bites this year. That was all nonsense. They were wrong about all of it. But you should be concerned because while you and I see what happened in China, and it's worth remembering that there was a months-long lockdown of Shanghai, which is really the most westernized major city in China. I've been to Shanghai just a few years ago, and they had drones flying by the windows telling people to suppress your heart's desire for freedom and stay indoors during the lockdown, or else they would arrest you. And they were taking dogs off the streets and euthanizing them. I mean, it was horrible. It was a true scene from a dystopian sci-fi novel. Then that is no exaggeration. Locking 15 million people into their homes and flying drones around to say, you may not leave. Oh, you've run out of food? Too bad. You may not leave. We see that. I see that. And we say, this is crazy. This is atrocious. How could anyone do this? I'm telling you, the Fauciites, the progressive left in this country, the commies who are a part of the Democrat Party, they see that and say, that's the kind of compliance we really need. That's the sort of shut up and do what you're told that they are hoping to achieve, not some other place in some other era, here in America. And yes, I will tie this to the fact that this is why they hate the Second Amendment so much. They know. The ones who want to go full tyrant, meaning they can tell you everything you can do, they can take your kids away from you if you don't support, transgender surgery for your 12-year-old. I mean, the things they want to do that are truly horrific, dystopian, and totalitarian, they know that ultimately, whether it's in 5 years or 50 years, an armed populace is a huge impediment to that. Not a perfect, impediment or blockage of it, but a huge challenge to that. So they want a disarmed population. You know this. I know this. This is just, when you understand the left-wing mentality, it's very clear. And there are people that are part of that one world government push, like Klaus Schwab, who really does sound like a Bond villain. It's amazing that this guy is the head of the World Economic Forum. Here he is pointing out China's locking down cities again for COVID. Its GDP growth is going to be the weakest we've seen in, maybe 2020 was weaker. I have to check the numbers, but it's going to be like 2 or 3%. And that economy can't handle low growth. It starts to implode on itself. Here is Klaus. Wow. Klaus Schwab. Not, Charles, I'm sure is a nice guy. It's a very different Schwab. He wants to help you. We get into some good mutual funds. Klaus Schwab, play 18.
The base has been formed, but we have to go one step further. We have to have a strategic mood. We have to construct the world of tomorrow. It's a systemic transformation of the world. So we have to define how the world should look like, which we want to come out of this transformation period. I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. I think it's a role model for many countries.
I think China is a role model for many countries. Terrifying, right? The country that locks people in their homes for months at a time, drives, I'm sure, millions of people essentially insane, scoops dogs up off the street and euthanizes them because they're afraid they're going to spread COVID. Never mind all the suppression of speech and all the other things. All the things that China's a model. The global governance crew, the Davos World Economic Forum set, which the Democrats aspire to be not only a part of, but to make the reality for all of us. This is what they think. Just remember that. Lockdowns going on. Full-on lockdowns in China. They do not work. Everyone knows they do not work. They are massively costly and awful, and they don't care. They don't care. So the same mentality with people that vote for Kathy Hochul, for example. Like, everything's awful, ruined everything. They don't care. They're on board. Just tell them what to do. Tell me what to do. That's what they say. I don't want freedom. A lot of libs don't want freedom. Don't ever forget it. Look, if you're having a busy retail day, getting slammed with customer response, that's great, right? That's what you want. A lot of companies do their best sales this time of year, but shipping a lot of those purchases out can be difficult and time-consuming, particularly if you have to visit the post office or UPS store. So it's not too late to get your holiday mailing and shipping under control with Stamps.com. Sign up today. You'll be printing your own postage in minutes. Isn't that so cool? Stamps.com is your one-stop shop for all your shipping and mailing needs. For more than 2 decades, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. Get access to the USPS and UPS services you need to run your business right from your computer. No lines, no traffic, no hassle. You can even save money with major discounts on what you're shipping via USPS or UPS, as much as, get this, 85% off. This holiday season, trade late nights for silent nights. It's so much better. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code Clay and Buck for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code Clay and Buck.
Making sense in an insane world. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Hope you ought.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interests. I enjoy talking with fascinating people across a variety of topics. On Newt's World, we've had some extraordinary guests join us, like former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Ending the war in Vietnam was a necessity in order to help heal the divisions in the country.
John Clifton, the CEO of Gallup.
The world has been winning the war against hunger for 4 decades. In 2014, it switched. We have a serious hunger crisis.
And House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
What I've really found the Republican Party to be, it's the party of the people, the working people of America.
I release 3 episodes of Newt's World podcast every week, and I hope you'll find my conversations engaging and informative, and hopefully we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Have you ever wondered what the media and big tech is hiding from you? Like massive stories that actually affect you in your life that they don't want you to see because they make the left and the Biden administration look bad. Well, now there's a podcast dedicated to exposing all of that each and every day. So download the fastest growing podcast in the conservative movement, the Ben Ferguson Show podcast, right now. That's right. You can listen to Ben Ferguson Show podcast on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Download it right now.
The Monica Crowley podcast is a whip-smart, fast-paced, sassy blend of politics, culture, history, and humor, all brought to you with the sunny optimism of Ronald Reagan's happy warrior spirit. Hi, I'm Monica Crowley, and I've served 2 American presidents, Richard Nixon in his last years as Foreign Policy Assistant, and Donald Trump as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. You've seen me on TV, read my New York Times best-selling books and popular columns, and now you can download my podcast, where you will hear one-of-a-kind insights and interviews. So join me on the Monica Crowley podcast. It's true appointment listening. Join our legion of happy warriors here on the Monica Crowley podcast. Listen to the Monica Crowley podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Great Thanksgiving, and our getting after it today, however you choose, whether it's having a relaxing day off or if you're working hard so other people can enjoy their day off, whatever it may be. We're thinking about you. Appreciate you hanging out with us, joining us. I'm solo today. Clay has the day off. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what I've seen happening right now over at Twitter with Elon Musk. I haven't yet developed, somebody talked about my impressions and voices in the last hour. I haven't yet gotten a really good Elon impression, but I'm working on it because he has a very particular cadence. But that's something, a conversation for another day. Elon, as you know, we've talked about it many times, bought Twitter, $44 billion, give or take $1 billion here or there, something like that. He bought Twitter. And this is fascinating, even if you don't care at all about social media and Twitter, because of the implications for a whole range of issues. The collusion, I think the proper usage of the term in some ways, the collusion between the Biden administration and deep state elements and big tech to shut down speech, to ban certain people, to undermine some ideas and some points of debate and discussion. That is very much a reality. That has happened. And we have propaganda institutions. I mean, think about how their left is always pushing not just for a little bit, but for the kind of they call it transparency, but they don't want any anonymous political money to exist anywhere because they want to name, shame, threaten, swat, and destroy anybody who gives to causes the left doesn't like. That's why they're always saying, oh, you can't have any anonymous money anywhere. So they're always pushing for what they call more campaign finance transparency or getting dark money out of politics. The Democrats get so much more money in politics, as we saw from this midterm election, than Republicans do. But this is where we are, right? They say that they want to get the money out of politics, and then all the left-wing billionaires can buy things like the Washington Post, pretend there's no political agenda, and you're just supposed to accept it. Twitter is, look, it went for over $40 billion. It's obviously a very powerful, very, very influential social media platform. And I've been saying for years, actually, and some of you will actually recall, it was in June of 2020, Rush Limbaugh himself read my tweet storm, if you will, about how we need to have that. Basically, we've lost the war for propaganda machinery in this country. They have all the artillery pieces, and we're firing .22 caliber rifles. Like, we can't keep up. And we need, in the social media realm particularly, and I just said we need a billionaire to come in and build an unsinkable aircraft carrier free speech. Rush read every word of that 15-tweet thread on air on the show, on his show, of course. And it now has come true. So it was I was sitting in bed just musing about this and what needed to happen, and Rush read it on air, and now here we are 2+ years later, 2.5 years later, and sure enough, this is reality. A billionaire did come along, buy one of the preferred propaganda tools of the Democrats, and it is no longer something they can use to the same effect they had in the past. Elon Musk is seeing all of this. And it used to be we'd argue about this, but the Democrats would say, oh, it's just not true. Republicans just don't have popular ideas. And I can tell you this, a great frustration as a conservative is trying to make the case publicly was if you got attacked personally, doxxed, you name it, the pile-on, the libs would not only let it happen, I'm telling you, they would accelerate it. And they would actively, if there was a big public dispute between a conservative on Twitter and anybody who was part of the apparatus, anybody who was in favor of the Democrats, you would all of a sudden, it would look like, wow, the Republicans just getting dragged and no one agrees with them. And they've been playing games with this. They have been truly rigging that game now for over a decade and trying to shape and direct and mold perception and belief as much as they can. And the people doing this at Twitter, as we all see, are the worst kind of snowflake, woke lunatic. The worst. just running around whining, crying all the time, but if they can't get their way, no one can have anything. Freedom is violent. Speech is violent. Shut up and do what they tell you. They're horrible. I'm somebody who, I will tell you, if anything, I am too sympathetic to people. I feel badly when people get fired. I feel badly when even people get their just desserts. I think, oh, well, maybe their family's sad now. I do not feel that way for any of the woke Twitterati who have been fired, because not only do they deserve to be fired, they tried to undermine and even destroy careers of other people, and they thought they were heroes for doing so. So this is about justice. Every Twitter lib who cries, an angel gets its wings. I don't know. Or, is that maybe a little too much? You know what I'm saying. Elon tweeted this out. Okay. And remember, he's the CEO. He has access to everything. He has seen whatever he wants to see at this point. The engineers who have kept their jobs are real engineers who just want to run a company want to run an online platform. The trust and safety and conversational health and super scared, emotionally unstable libs, they're the ones who have already been fired. So Elon is seeing what's going on at this. By the way, I'm going to tie this into the Hunter Biden laptop in a second. So I want again, this may have cost us the 2020 election, friends. That's why I'm talking about this. You know how we've been discussing, was the election on the up and up? And they say, oh, well, election. Yeah. There were some theories about what went wrong in 2020 that were not correct. There were other theories or allegations or accusations about how they changed the rules, rigged the game, and played dirty to win that were absolutely true. And it is incumbent upon all of us to separate those things and make sure that when we say they're full of it, they rigged it, that's not the way it's supposed to go, it's rooted entirely in fact. And I'm telling you, the rigging of the social media platforms is a matter of and a question of fact at this point. And Elon Musk, as the CEO of Twitter right now, is exposing that. And you have to extrapolate out the same things that are now being found. They never thought this would happen at Twitter. So they were not careful about the sorts of things they were writing on internal company chats, the emails there. They thought they were in the woke battleship of all battleships. They were good to go. They were protected from on high. That was their thought, by the Biden administration, if nothing else, right? That the White House itself was working with them and making sure that any regulation would be something Twitter wants, not something that would actually deal with the challenges of free speech in this era and everything else. Here is what Elon is tweeting out. It is objectively the case that conservative political candidates were more negatively affected than progressive candidates. Anyone using Twitter knows this. The question is simply one of magnitude. Let's understand. It's one thing, right, if I say to you, I have been throttled. I mean, at one point I lost, I think, 150,000 Twitter followers in about a 2-week period after the 2020 election. But I've been throttled for weeks, if not months on end. I've had to go back and forth with Twitter. And I don't tweet that much as a result, because I just feel like it's such a rigged game. It annoys me. But it was a totally unfair. I mean, some people, it's like they're telling us to run in a race, and some people had cement shoes on. And I'm somebody who had cement shoes on. There were some conservatives, by the way, I'm not going to name names, but who never seemed to get throttled. I think it's interesting. Some people were very cozy with the social media companies, talking about how, I don't like big tech and big censorship. It's like, well, have you ever been throttled or suspended? Because I have. What are you talking about? If you're a conservative and have never been a target of one of these social media companies, I'm talking about people that are public figures. I wonder, were you really fighting the fight? Because it's impossible to speak honestly about COVID, to speak honestly about the 2020 election, to speak honestly about transgender issues, and not run afoul of these companies. So people that didn't run afoul, hey, some people just, so I don't know. It's about the fame and the dollar signs, not about the cause. Anyway, the next thing Elon writes about all this is, it has been really bad. Far left San Francisco Berkeley views have been propagated to the world via Twitter. I'm sure this comes as no surprise to anyone watching it closely. Twitter is moving rapidly to establish an even playing field. No more thumb on the scale. And he writes, as is obvious to all but the media, there's not one permanent ban on even the most far left-wing account spewing lies. You hear that? This is from the CEO, the owner of Twitter. This is from the CEO. He's saying what we've been saying. They never banned the left. It was only the right. This whole banning thing when it comes to politics was an entirely partisan tool. And they were lying to you about it. You know, they were lying. They're saying, oh, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And it was completely the case that they were elevating lunatic left-wing ideas. You know, why is it that all of a sudden the left is saying, oh, yeah, drag queen story hour for 5-year-olds, you know, and strip shows and everything, and let's bring small children there. People saying, how'd the country get so crazy? The Twitterization of America has been occurring, my friends, where it's the battlefield of ideas, except one side has their hands and legs tied up, and they're supposed to fight against the other side. That's what has been going on here. But now this is the big one. Elon Musk has agreed, according to the New York Post, that Twitter should release all internal discussions concerning the censoring of the New York Post's Hunter Biden laptop story. He wants to release, you want to talk about release the Kraken, he wants to release the beast here. He wants to show everybody the ugly truth from inside of Twitter, because you know what you're going to find? People saying that basically some of them, not all of them, some of them were so sloppy and probably so secure in their, you know, left-wing totalitarian thinking that they decided to say, you know, out loud, meaning in a text, in an email, we just have to make sure Joe Biden wins this election, guys. Democracy is at stake. Now, you could say, oh, but Twitter's a private company. It can do what it wants. Well, not really, because it's actually perpetrating fraud. If you say you're running a free and fair media company, but you're not, and you're really just a tool of the DNC, isn't that a form of fraud? And I'll give you an example. You know, Comcast is a major cable company. If Comcast decided in the weeks leading up to an election that they were just going to refuse to air any Republican ads on any of its, well, you'd say the FCC and the FEC probably would step in. There'd be federal regulations, federal issues. Why is a social media platform different? Twitter made an in-kind donation under false pretenses to the Democrat Party in the 2020 election. The CEO is telling you that this is true already, okay? This is not speculation. Twitter made an in-kind donation to make sure that buffoonish, clown, incompetent Joe Biden became president of the United States. Because they knew the whole story about Joe the Uniter, who was just good old Joe. You could trust him. Yeah, you know, rides the choo-choo to work. Just like you, takes a lunch pail every day. He's a working man, blue-collar folks. All that lying nonsense they told you about him. It's a lot harder when people think, hold on a second. His son is getting millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party and is taking 10% to the big guy, who's Joe Biden? You're going to lecture us about good governance and corruption and how messy the Trump years were and all this stuff? And we're basically putting the Biden crime family in office? I don't think so. So we're going to see some very ugly stuff here. But we already know it's true about what they did at Twitter, about how dishonest they were, and how they threw the election for the Democrats. You're going to see it. Our worst, you know, what they say are conspiracy theories when it comes to this stuff, our worst fears have all been shown to be true about how dishonest and dishonorable the libs are in Silicon Valley when it comes to power and how they operate. So what Elon Musk is doing, if you look in the history of big moments for conservatives in media, I mean, there's obviously what Rush built here, right? And now we continue on to fight in his name and to try to perpetuate the legacy of what he stood for as much as we can on this show. But Rush was a one-man, unsinkable aircraft carrier for free speech. Fox News came along in 1996, finally a center-right channel in existence to give a perspective on America that, you know, isn't just overrun with woke lunacy. The internet, the rise of the internet, and yes, I would even say the Drudge Report in its heyday. And now I think you look at Elon's purchase of Twitter as another moment, another sea change in the dialogue. This stuff is really, really important. You know, they're also using propaganda in the schools all the time, including the books that your kids are reading. And you can do something about that by encouraging your kids to read super engaging books, but they're books that tell them the truth about America and that share your values. That's what the Tuttle Twins series of books can bring. It's a great time of year to give books. You know, I give books to family members, which I know is not for some people. They're like, oh, but like I wanted a new, lawnmower or MP3 player or something. And I'm like, look, a book is a better gift. I give them to my family members. There's some thought process that goes into it that's special. Black Friday, you're able to access a great family gift of the Tuttle Twins book at a great price. They're a must-have for every American home. All this week, the Tuttle Twins book series is specially priced. It's their biggest deal ever. They have a bundle that includes all the children's books, activity books, audio guides, books, audiobooks, guidebooks, all kinds of stuff. 75% off the normal price. Plus, there's a mega bundle that also includes all their other book bundles, too. It has the teen, toddler, and history bundles. The perfect gift for all the kids in your life right now, the Tuttle Twins book. Get them for your own kids, nieces, nephews, grandchildren. It's a great gift idea. Go to TuttleRadio.com for this great price, 75% off. TuttleRadio.com, Tuttle, TuttleRadio.com. Get this holiday gift now for kids in your life, TuttleRadio.com.
The supply chain of smarts, sanity, and truth. Uninterrupted. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Newt Gingrich here, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my podcast, Newt's World. Most people know me as the former Speaker of the House, but I'm also a historian with a wide range of interest. I enjoy talking with fascinating people who are doing extraordinary things. I release 3 episodes of Newt's World every week, and I want to invite you to listen. Hopefully, we'll both learn something new. Listen to Newt's World on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast.
Have you ever wondered what the media and big tech is hiding from you? Like massive stories that actually affect you in your life that they don't want you to see because they make the left and the Biden administration look bad. Well, now there's a podcast dedicated to exposing all of that each and every day. So download the fastest growing podcast in the conservative movement, the Ben Ferguson Show podcast right now. That's right. You can listen to Ben Ferguson Show podcast on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Download it right now.
The Monica Crowley Podcast is a whip-smart, fast-paced, sassy blend of politics, culture, history, and humor, all brought to you with the sunny optimism of Ronald Reagan's happy warrior spirit. Hi, I'm Monica Crowley, and I've served 2 American presidents, Richard Nixon in his last years as Foreign Policy Assistant, and Donald Trump as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. You've seen me on TV, read my New York Times best-selling books and popular columns, and now you can download my podcast where you will hear one-of-a-kind insights and interviews. So join me on the Monica Crowley Podcast. It's true appointment listening. Join our legion of happy warriors here on the Monica Crowley Podcast. Listen to the Monica Crowley Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.